seem big. Not worry about that. Alright, so the stream should be back up and running now. We've got Stanley Parable up. I'm going to go be right back for about 5-10 minutes. Finish or refill my water, finish the my chats, and then we will play some Stanley Parable. Thank you for the pets. See you guys shortly. everybody, we're back. Let's see. I said I'd be gone 5 to 10 minutes. I'd say I got it pretty close. Huh? Okay. So let's see. Current time. 9:46. Can we get together? Yes. Good. How close are we to roll over? Only halfway. So let's just call that. And Discord, stream this to the channel as well. Okay, that was cute.
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy. And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office. All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
That's new.
The confusion and the chaos all seemed to melt away as Stanley embraced the bucket. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door.
All the balloons. I don't know if we want to defy him again today or not. I wonder what happens if I just sit here. Oh, more balloons. Thank you for all the pets. Now let's defy.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Was this better than the meeting room? Yes, Stanley thought. No, never mind. The bucket was wrong.
Oh.
Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
No,
said the bucket.
don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Good,
said the bucket.
now ride the lift all the way to the top.
I'm pretty sure I've
There's
taken the
something
bucket
up
over
there I
there.
need you to do.
And then it's get caught in a
Stanley
loop.
did not question why or how this bucket was speaking to him. It should have alarmed him, of course, because buckets can't talk. But Stanley chose not to think about this obvious fact. He was firmly convinced that the bucket had spoken to him, and he unthinkingly did whatever the bucket asked.
In here.
Said the bucket.
Go into this dark room over here.
Stanley once again obeyed blindly.
Now pick up the phone.
Said the bucket.
Pick up the phone and it will take us back home, where we can go about life together.
Alright. Life with the bucket.
This is the sad story of a man named Stanley and his bucket. Once upon a time, I gave Stanley a bucket because I thought he was lonely and could use a friend. And then, very distressingly, he began to believe the bucket could speak to him. The Stanley Parable Reassurance Bucket was merely meant to provide the comforting glow of companionship. It doesn't
The
literally
balloons are
talk
gone.
and give you orders. Whatever Stanley is hearing the bucket say to him is just in his head. Lately, I've been concerned about him. Wouldn't you be concerned as well? To see him delusional like this, obsessing over an inanimate metal object? I want to say something to him, but I don't know how I can convince him. I don't know if he'll listen to me.
Just gonna hang out on the couch with my bucket. Also, I don't know if I said thank you for the pet, so thank you. Hey there! Welcome back, Chris Mack. Good to see ya. I hope your stream went well. Ooh, Midnight Suns. That looks fun. I've been eyeing that one. Epic betrayal.
Oh, I'll try anyway. Stanley, can you hear me? Listen to me. It's just a bucket. It can't think. It can't talk. All it will ever truly do for you is effectively transfer a liquid from one location to a different location. That's it. It doesn't do anything else.
That's not true. This bucket loves me. And also, it's pronounced bouquet. Bit of an archaic reference for you there. I love that clip. We're trying to get into a lobby versus each other. It succeeded. Yeah, fair enough. Bucket is love, bucket is life. Agreed.
You see, he's not listening. He's still taking orders from the bucket. You know, once upon a time it was me he took orders from. Me he trusted and listened to. Now all he cares about is his awful bucket. This stupid hunk of metal.
I'm glad you guys managed to get in the same game even if you then murdered. Also, love this game. I love that they remastered it with extra content. It's so much fun. It's my first time through. Well, today's my second, I suppose. Risty got it for me to see what I do essentially. He is just jealous of me and my bucket.
It's sad, but I suppose he doesn't need me anymore. From now on, he's just going to cling to this bucket, this cold, empty bucket, this sort of shiny bucket. Well, I'll give it this. The bucket does have a nice shine to it.
I can't turn off the computer. Normally I can. It's on the computer. Let's see if I'm real. Don't you, Stanley?
Yes, I suppose on closer inspection that it doesn't quite look like your average hardware store bucket. It's just a little more, what am I trying to say? Sturdier, more capable of transporting liquid. Like it would be better at moving an amount of water from one room to another.
Very good choice there, see for sure. It doesn't have to do much at all to be humorous and fun time. Agreed. Yes, bucket. I will
Oh my
relive this
God,
day
what
with
am I
you.
saying? Better at carrying water from room to room. It's a bucket. It's literally just a bucket. Why do I feel some need to point out the ways in which it's so much more than just a regular bucket? Oh no. I'm having feelings. For the bucket. No. What's going on? Why do I want to be with the
Oh.
bucket? Hear
Oh
what
no, the
bucket has
bucket's
to
left me
say.
a trail
Do
of
anything
candles.
it asks. What's wrong with me? I don't understand. Perhaps if I had the bucket, this would be less confusing. Yes. The bucket could tell me what to do in this troublesome situation. Stanley, give me the bucket. Give it to me. Give me the bucket, Stanley.
No, it's mine.
Give it to me now. Give it, or I'll...
It's my bucket. Go back to work, Stanley. The bucket is the narrator now.
All of his co-workers
Nope,
were gone.
never mind.
What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. Warmth spread through Stanley's arms. With the bucket in his arms again, he was home. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
Look at this time.
Still no one was here. Stanley needed the bucket's warmth and comfort now more than ever. Perhaps his boss's office was where he'd find answers. Oh, Stanley, can you feel it? The broom closet. It wants the bucket. You can feel that, can't you? The aura of jealousy. It's as clear as day. This broom closet believes it deserves the bucket. I can really feel it now. It's a bucket. It belongs in a broom closet. That's what the broom closet is trying to say here. It's supposed to go with the other cleaning supplies. Good for you, Stanley. Don't give in. Don't hand over the bucket. I know how hard it must be, given the pressure that the broom closet is putting on your shoulders right now, but you have to be strong. This is your bucket. This is your companion and
It's
lifelong
true.
friend. You
It's
can't
my
do
bucket.
either.
You can't have it.
No. We're getting into name-calling now, it seems. Is this how low the broom closet has sunk, that it has to resort to this stream of petty insults simply in order to get you to hand over the bucket? Stanley, I never liked this broom closet for a variety of reasons, but even this is worse than I had imagined. And wait, now the broom closet has the gall to imply that you and the bucket are not truly deep and lasting
I know,
friends?
right?
That your relationship is purely superficial and convenient? That your life is so banal and meaningless that you'd feel the same sort of kinship towards any inanimate object which happened to lay in your path in an even partially enticing manner? Well, I never. Go on,
So
Stanley.
rude.
Lay into it. Really tell the broom closet off for its demeaning comments. Expand on the wide variety of experiences you and the bucket have shared together. Go through each of them point by point. Share your journal entries detailing the rich emotional landscape of your feelings for the bucket as they have changed and evolved over the years. Let him have it. Okay, I've got you something which I think will help settle this debate once and for all. Here we go. There. Now it's settled.
Property of
No more
Stanley.
debate, no more discussion. Take a hike, broom closet, with all your meandering philosophical diatribes about the nature of cleaning supplies and their relationship to broom closets in the natural order of things.
Mine. Can't have it.
All right, I've got a second sticker back here, and I'm going to slap it on as well because I think it's appropriate. You see, I feel that it works because the sticker is also a bucket. That way, if you're ever unsure whether the thing you're holding is a bucket or not, you can look down at this sticker and say to yourself, ah, it's a bucket. There really is a wide variety of applications for this sticker. You know what? I could take the name-calling and the dismissal of your kinship with the bucket, but now the broom closet is just giving us the silent treatment. And to be honest, I'm sick of the pettiness on display. You can stay here all you like, but I've had it with this impetulant room of cleaning supplies. Easily the most childish such room I've ever been in. I'll see you outside, and we can get on with the story about you and your bucket.
Leave. Is that it? I think that might finally be it.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
Oh no, that's the one that loops me. I don't like that one. Money crisp. Oh hey.
You found one of them. One of the miniature Stanley figurines. Remember, no reward for collecting all of these, only the intrinsic pleasure of a job well done. You can't buy that sort of happiness, Stanley. God knows I've tried. So, I implore you to savor each and every moment you come across one of these beautiful figurines.
Elevator! Bucket in an elevator. Rocking out.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Crushed by the weight of this revelation, Stanley may have broken down into an emotional dumpster fire if not for the soothing presence of the bucket.
It's very
Even
true.
now, in his darkest of hours, did the bucket's warmth and guiding light pierce the dark clouds of confusion and chaos. It would be with him always. The bucket would. But Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it that the bucket knew all along? Was the bucket guiding him?
The bucket near.
Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation. Another miniature Stanley figurine. This, there really must be a snappier name for these things. What about mini-stands? Stanley figs? What about Stanlerines? Yes, I think I like that. Another Stanlerine under your belt.
Down we go, bucket.
The elevator raced downward, plummeting towards an unknown fate. It would be all Stanley could do to keep himself together, if not for the bucket. Soothing him, comforting him, reassuring that in this darkest moment of uncertainty, he would be all right. The bucket is here for you, Stanley. Everything will be fine.
We just have to pet the bucket and everything will be okay.
Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read, Mind Control Facility.
Go up and down again.
Wait, Stanley said to the bucket. Can we go back up? When I was pressing those keypad buttons, there was something very intriguing about the number 3. I want to go back so I can try pressing the number 3 again. The bucket said nothing.
It's giving me the cold handle.
Here we are, said Stanley. Now I'm going to try out that number 3 button. He took the bucket over to the keypad and began absolutely slamming on the number 3 over and over and over. Wow, he said. The number 3 is such a special button. I'm having the time of my life. Stanley looked expectantly at the bucket, but the bucket remained silent. This was a shock to Stanley, who had always felt such a connection with the bucket. How was this not as exciting to the bucket as it was to him? Once Stanley had had enough of the number 3, he got back in the elevator.
Never mind. Number 3, do something for me. Oh, what's a funny number combination? That thing said to dial an extension, but I don't think that was it. I like 2. Yep. I guess I'll take the bucket back down.
Perhaps the bucket had missed something. Perhaps it had not seen how much joy Stanley got from slamming the number 3 repeatedly. No, said Stanley to the bucket. You can't go on yet.
Not till you understand how much the number 3 means to me. You and I have been through so much together, and I just want you to see what I see. Feel the happiness I feel. He smiled at the bucket, and the bucket said nothing.
You can try that 9
Here
one
we go,
farther.
said Stanley. This time I'll really show you. He ran to the number 3 and began to wail on it like a musician on a beloved instrument, weaving a concerto of truth and passion. He wielded the number 3 like a fine artist would wield a paintbrush. He told stories through the number 3, stories of his dreams and hopes and fears. And the whole time, he looked to his bucket for a reaction of some kind. Anything to let him know that the bucket appreciated what he was doing. The bucket conveyed absolutely nothing at all. Only silence. Crushed by a wave of dejection, Stanley returned to the elevator.
It's so sad. Maybe the bucket is upset that I'm calling it property.
Stanley and the bucket were so close. They'd always been there for one another. Why suddenly could the bucket not connect with this passion of Stanley's? The question caused Stanley to ruminate the whole way down the elevator. He knew that there must be a way to get through to the bucket, to communicate fully with his dear friend. Surely there was a solution, mustn't there be? Said Stanley. I know what to do. I know how to fully express this feeling in my heart. He decided right then and there that he would hold a press conference where he would speak to the public on all matters relating to pressing the number 3 over and over. He would elaborate fully on what the number 3 meant to him and
Well,
why he
this is
felt so
new.
alive when pressing it. Then the bucket would be able to see his joy through the eyes of others. It would get to see the world react to this discovery of Stanley's. And it would be through the public eye that the bucket would finally understand Stanley's work. For months, he advertised and marketed his press conference, building excitement around it, developing and rehearsing it, until it couldn't be refined a single measure further. When the big day arrived, Stanley was as prepared as he'd ever been for anything in his life.
Oh my gosh. Doing great at convention. Conversation with Alexander the Great. That's a lot of 3s.
This was it. One last chance to win the bucket over.
427.
One opportunity to share a true connection with a loved one.
Can interact with it? Yeah. I take a screenshot of that because I'll probably forget the number. Especially today, I am so sleepy.
There was no one here. Nobody had come to the press conference to hear Stanley speak, to listen to him talk about what it really means to press the number 3 on a keypad over and over. He was unloved, uninteresting, he was a failure, and in that moment Stanley knew that the bucket would never again take him seriously. There would be no connection, no deeper understanding. The bucket merely sat there in his arms, indifferent. And so it began that slowly, over many years, the two of them grew more and more distant. They spoke less and less, neither wishing to state the obvious, that any
Bucket,
sense
don't
of
do
real
this.
respect between them had eroded since that day at the press conference. There would be no
No.
more games, no more long conversations about passion and pursuit, only a silence that consumed the space between friends. And Stanley, having for once in his life discovered the warmth and comfort of true companionship, was cast back into the unremarkable normalcy of loneliness.
No. No. Bucket.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. Stanley picked up the bucket and smiled. He'd never be alone again, not truly alone, not with the bucket around.
I'm glad Bucket did not leave us forever.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be.
Wait. 427. Ah, that was
And
our
here it
employee
was.
number.
Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Was this better than the meeting room? No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go
What do you
back to
think?
the
Should we
meeting
take the
room.
lift and jump off halfway? Or actually, you know what? I am gonna go this way because I saw
No, said the
a little
bucket.
drop down
Don't go
area
to the meeting room. Go
that I
somewhere
think I can
else.
get
The
to.
cargo lift, yes. Go there. Go to the cargo lift.
Yeah, thought I saw this.
Okay, I'm going back to the name of these little Stanley figurines, and now I'm torn between
I know,
Stanlerines
right?
and
How could the
Fitbits.
bucket
What
do
do you
this
think,
to us?
Stanley? What
After all
name
we've
better
been together.
encapsulates the
Our
intrinsic
matching
sense of
stickers.
happiness that you get from seeing a small number in the corner of your screen go up by 1? Let me sit on it. I'm sure it will come to me.
Well, I don't think there's any way down. So I guess we're going in the vent. Hmm. That is a lot of cassettes.
Okay, this is day number 295. Tape number... I don't even know. I've lost track. Nothing feels real anymore. The longer I study this bucket,
Hmm.
the less sense anything makes. The sheer euphoria I feel every time I pick it up. No matter how many times I've done it, it's always the same feeling. And the emptiness in my chest when I set it down. It doesn't make sense. There's no explanation for it. I still haven't figured out why I see the world so differently when this bucket is in my arms. Why Everything feels so... What do I do
Damn.
with this treasure? I can monetize it. Yes. It's unthinkable the amounts of money people will pay for even just an hour with the bucket. This is my golden ticket. But I have to be careful, because as soon as this gets out, there's going to be a target on my back. Even now, I don't know who might be trying to get... What's that? Who's there? Camporata.
Uh. Well, that was horrifying.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Oh. There's a figurine finders committee in there. Do we take the bucket with us today, or do we go without? Well, does my stream have a big delay? Nope, not that big. How could we not take the bucket? Fair
The
point.
good old bucket. Just Stanley and the bucket. Off on another thrilling adventure together. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered
This
the
time we'll
door
go because
beneath.
of the figurine committee. We gotta go see him. Trust the completionist instinct. Why wouldn't they just tell us something will happen? This investigation in this room, they feel pointless. Or, to be honest. Oh, it's okay, my love. Oh, and Play 421 built the bridge. What we know, what we forgot, what we don't know yet. Bonus. Do you need contract for them? What do they want? Money, stock. Uh, what do they look like? 427. Oh, there's the one in the employee bathroom. Looks like there's one in like a void. A red room. have to synergize our resources to ensure the retrieval. Questions, there's no memo from management. Oh, that's the same. Please do not leave the office before reporting back findings. There will be a reward for finding them all. Lies. Who are you? There will be cleaning of this wall required. Stop kidding yourself. I want to go home. I want them so much. Oh, it says something. Stairs, something to do with stairs. Some are both red and blue. So one might be at the bottom of the stairs to the boss's room. Produce one plank to allow ease of access. Past the fence. Construct bridge to allow collection of shiny float. Retrieve Chris's remains from the warehouse floor. Chris, no! Construct new structurally bridge. Yeah, it's got the red light. That's definitely the staircase under the boss. That was the bathroom. Oh. I have to turn right in the two-door room? Interesting. I think we've seen all we can here.
Stanley, we must move on from this broom closet, simply because I have no remaining stickers. If I did, you can guarantee we'd be in here for hours. But alas, no stickers.
We will stay here anyway. Do I forget to say I was a ghost of employees? Oh gosh.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
You're getting close now, Stanley. You've nearly gotten all of the Figler and Marines. Very soon, you'll collect the last one, and then the first number will equal the second number, and that will be it. We'll be different people by then. Different in the sense that we used to have none of them, and now we have them all. You can't go back to when you had no Figler and Marines. None of us can.
But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss, admitting he had left his post during work hours. He might be fined for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then, something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. He looked down at the bucket in his arms. Am I crazy? He asked the bucket. The bucket returned his gaze, but said nothing at all. That's strange, Stanley thought. Usually the bucket is a source of guidance and wisdom for me in difficult times such as these. He held the bucket close, yet felt none of its familiar reassurance and comfort. And that's when Stanley realized, this isn't my bucket. It's just a normal, everyday bucket. Someone else's bucket, perhaps. How did I end up with someone else's bucket? This is all terribly wrong. Surely no good would come from this. Who knows what sort of bizarre hallucinations Stanley might experience without the psychologically grounding presence of his bucket. And indeed, now he noticed that the rooms were repeating, which was, of course, very odd. And now he felt himself floating off the ground. Oh, gracious, he exclaimed. Without my bucket, I've gone truly mad.
Where is it? I must find it.
They cut out
Far
the
off
room
in
where the
distance
bucket was
now, he
in.
heard it,
They
calling
cut
to
out the
him.
office space.
Stanley! Stanley, it's me, the bucket. Could it truly be? He
It was
rushed
in
forward
here.
from room to room,
This is
passing
where I
by
lost the
one
bucket.
bucket after
Oh.
the next. None of them were his. None of them were his special bucket. Come to me, Stanley. Find me. He had to find the bucket. He had to return to his old friend. It was the only way to truly restore his sanity. And then suddenly, he froze dead in his tracks. He knew where the voice of the bucket had been coming from. The real bucket was inside of him all along. It was incredibly painful. Stanley doubled over in agony and blacked out.
What?
This is the story of a woman named Mariella.
Oh, the sun again.
Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, picked up her bucket of comfort and security, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town, talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. Right away, she knew what the problem was. This man had no bucket. Of course he'd gone mad, ranting and raving about a narrator describing all of his actions and how everything is predetermined and free will is an illusion and it's all just a video game. It could all have been prevented if only he'd taken his bucket with him. Perhaps he didn't even realize he'd forgotten his bucket at home in the first place. How cruel the world can be, Mariella thought, and she hugged her own bucket even tighter. But of course, she had no time for this. There were a myriad of confusing problems she would soon have to confront at work, for which her bucket would provide absolute guidance and total clarity on everything. Heck yes, she thought to herself, my life kicks ass. And she backflipped all the way to work.
Backflips, damn.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Where are we going today? The bucket asked. Stanley just smiled. Anywhere they went together would be perfectly fine with him.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
The instructions said to go into the right, but there's no right.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Was this No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
Oh, you're gonna try jumping off the lift.
No, said the bucket. Don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere
Also, where's
else.
his body?
The cargo lift, yes. Go there. Go to the cargo lift. Good, said the bucket. Now ride the lift all the way to the top. There's something up there I need you to do.
I don't see
Stanley
Chris's
did not
body.
question why or how this bucket was speaking to him. It should have alarmed him, of course, because buckets can't talk. But Stanley chose not to think about this obvious fact. He was firmly convinced that the bucket had spoken to him, and he unthinkingly did whatever the bucket asked.
Chris, where are you?
No, stop. Look there on the wall. You see, there's a sign right there. It says, no buckets past this point.
Oh,
Stanley,
yeah, we've been
how could
here.
you think it was okay to bring the bucket here? Unless, what if the problem is that you actually don't know what is a bucket and what isn't a
Oh
bucket?
no, it's this thing
I
again.
suppose that would explain a lot about your behavior up to this point. Which, if that's true, well, my goodness, I think we have to do something about it. This misunderstanding could have dire consequences on the entire...
Okay, we'll restart. I've already had that one.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
All right, we're gonna try without the bucket. We're gonna see what happens.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Yeah, we've got left.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Standing now in this incredible room, Stanley for the first time, but eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
You know, I wonder what the little, like, vent thing would do without the bucket.
And so he detoured through the maintenance section, walked straight ahead to the opposite door, and got back on track.
Oh. Oh no, I thought maybe it looked more disheveled than usual. But no. Beware of the false prophet.
Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here, so he turned around and got back on track. There was nothing here. No choice to make, no path to follow, just an empty broom closet. No reason to still be here. It was baffling that Stanley was still just sitting in the broom closet. He wasn't even doing anything. At least if there was something to interact with, he'd be justified in some way. As it is, he's literally just standing there doing sweet FA.
Alright, man love. Do you want me to finish off this run and then call it?
Are you
Or just call it here?
really still in the broom closet? Standing around doing nothing? Why? Please offer me some explanation here. I'm genuinely confused.
Yeah, just end it here.
You do realize there's no choice or anything in here, right? If I'd
Alright,
said
man love.
Stanley walked past the broom closet...
Well, sorry to cut that one short. I'll stream something else, so Chris, if you're still here. It's okay, you're sleepy.